Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Jupiter, sextile, or trine one's natal Saturn. Now, this transit could manifest in optimism, enthusiasm, exuberance, truth, veracity, joviality, and luck. Being in harmony with one's career and laborious work, and I'm going to elaborate and expound on that. It's a time where you could be more, jovial in matters with your career and being more optimistic about what can be accomplished in your profession without being over optimistic, being having the right amount of exuberance and enthusiasm to take care of career related matters. If you have the say if the natal Saturn is in Aquarius, that career related matters, those career related matters, I should say, can be associated with astrology or astronomy or computers, even innovation tech labs as some examples, and also even hard work, hard labor, laborious work. This is a time where even if you're working in some just general mundane type profession, or if you're stocking shelves, or you're working in retail, as a cashier, this is the time where you have to be more enthusiastic about what you're doing, and even if it's not career related, but just laborious efforts, but just say if you're helping some friend on some construction of a home, as an example, or you're working in someone's yard, and you're doing some landscaping. This is a time where you might be, and you're not, getting paid necessarily. Say if you're just doing it in your own home, or you're just helping a friend out selflessly. This is a time where you're apt to have that more of that enthusiasm, that exuberance to be able to do these things and not, look at the negative, or not have, be downtrodden or despondent over what you're doing. And it also applies to matters with responsibilities as well. The natal Saturn says in Scorpio, responsibilities may be connected with insurance or taxes or wills, or maybe even recycling or making some kind of transformation. If you have your natal Saturn saying Scorpio in the third house as an example, it could be like transforming a vehicle, or if you have it in the natal Saturn in Scorpio in the first house as another example, it could be that transformation of the physical body. And also in terms of dealing with restrictions or delays, you may be more, have to be more upbeat, even if you have to work through some kind of restrictions or delays in your life. And it may be where you still maintain certain optimism and try to have a good attitude regarding this. I mean, it could be something as simple as a traffic delay, and it's something when you have this transit, or if you have, like, say if it's a physical restriction, because remember Saturn is connected with chronic illnesses. It can be a situation where you still feel more positive in what you can do in terms of working through it. And the thing is, it could be if you have, say, your natal Saturn in Gemini, it could be some physical related issue with the arms or the hands, as some examples, or even the nerves, and it might be somewhat inhibiting physically, of course, because if you have problems with your hands and your arms, that it's hard to do many things. I have issues, with that, and it's very difficult to say that absolutely. It's trying to just be able to live your life, just be able to work through that. And the thing is, and keep in mind, anatomically speaking, okay, Saturn is connected with the knees, the bones, the joints, the hamstrings, and the gallbladder. So if you have like any of those issues that I described that are anatomically connected with Saturn, this could be the time where you're likely to have more enthusiasm in terms of doing something about it. If you have to do some kind of rehab, and say there's some issues with the hamstrings, and you're trying to do something through light workouts that tries in an attempt to rehabilitate, that it can be a time where you may feel more positive in doing so. And if it's something where Like say if you've been procrastinating or hesitating on any of those issues I described that are anatomically connected with Saturn, this is the time where you're likely to be more positive. You may do something about it, and actually, may have there may be good, could also be good news if you're waiting some kind of results regarding any of these matters, or it's positive and just simply getting to the truth in those matters as well. Now, another thing too is that Saturn is also connected, with the father, and it's a time, and just in general, where it could be more fortuitous for those dealings and interactions with the father at this time. If your natal Saturn is in Capricorn, it could be the father could be a Capricorn Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, or simply embody those characteristics. It might be somebody that's very premeditative and disciplined, structured, consistent. Someone that's very traditional and orthodox in doing things. And it could also be, with older people as well. Saturn is connected with older people and authority figures, so it could be a very positive time to be able to express humor with these people, be able to be jocular and joke around, even if you're dealing, say, with an authority figure that's been somewhat stern or serious, or person that's not overly jocular, to say the least. It could be somebody that's just very placid, very serious, and not one that's known to be humorous. And even with those people, it could be a better time as far as joking with these people at this time. And also, if you're joking with them, for those people not to be taken aback by, not to take something personally. If you're just making a joke, that may be in connection with them. So the thing is to another way that this transit could also manifest as well. It could be more of a positive time, being more optimistic, and dealing with some kind of inhibition or fear at this time. I have my natal Saturn in the 12th house of my chart, so that could be simply fearing the unknown. And being in Taurus, it could be something of a monetary nature. This could be, for me, or I should say for people in general that have this transit, it's a positive time, I would say, to understand and acknowledge your fears and inhibitions, because Jupiter is about the truth and veracity. Saturn is connected with fears and inhibitions, so this is the time where one would be more likely than not to be able to see these things, to see those fears and understand, the truth about them, and maybe even do something positive in connection with them. If it's something, just having the positive mindset, you'd be surprised, what that could overcome. And again, the fact that the Saturn is also connected with chronic illnesses, and this could be a time when you have this transit again, like I was stating before, it could be more fortuitous in dealing with these matters, having really being more optimistic in regards to taking care of them, and doing something about those issues. Say if the natal Saturn is in Scorpio, there might be some physical related issue with the colon, the bladder, the prostate, or even the reproductive system. And it can be a time where you feel more upbeat about taking care of it, and also where if you're waiting on results regarding these matters, it can be something where you feel where the news might be good, or at least it's a time where you could at least get the truth regarding them. So anyway, those are some ways that this transit could manifest and pan out. Now, another way this transit could be expressed, it could be a time where you could be very enthusiastic and exuberant without being over optimistic and enthusiastic. And enthusiasm is Jupiter, of course, regarding career, which is Saturn related matters. Now, let's say, for example, if the natal Saturn is in Taurus, those career related matters may include banking, finance, geology, working as a pawnbroker or stockbroker, uh, as architecture, agriculture, as some examples. And it's also a time where it could be very auspicious for finding the truth, which is Jupiter, about the father, which is Saturn. And say, for example, if the natal Saturn is in Pisces, it could be, in some cases, it might be father might be somewhat deceptive or overly passive or reclusive, but on the positive side, it might be also seeing the father as being very compassionate, forgiving, altruistic, and sacrificing. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back, but anyway. Well, another thing too is that it can be a favorable time to express humor, which is Jupiter. Again, with authority figures, or even the father and older people, which is Saturn. Now, let's say, for example, if the transit Jupiter is in Capricorn, it could be very, political, um, you know, um, humor at this time. And it can be older. I call older humor. It could be jokes from way in the past uh, that have been around for some time. It can also be a time where it could be more prosperity, which is Jupiter, and just laborious work, which is Saturn. Let's say, for example, if the natal Saturn is in Gemini, it could be manual dexterity, like such as auto or refrigeration mechanics, or doing something with writing or journalism, reporting, communication fields in general. It can also be very propitious for sports, which is Jupiter, that may involve older, which is Saturn people. If, let's say, for example, if Jupiter, is in Virgo, it may be something with chess, um, because that's intellectual, it's very cerebral, and it requires a lot of analysis. If you perceive that as a sport, um, or maybe something with, fencing, could be another example for Virgo, I would say, or just simply, walking or working out vigorously, because working out and walking can be tied into something that's very, very healthy, and Virgo energy is about health, to say the absolute least. And it could just simply be being very fortuitous at this time and just working through restrictions and limitations, whether it could be a physical one or one of a different nature. If you have your Saturn, say, in Taurus and or the second house, it could be ones of a monetary nature, or even issues where you may have been dealing with limited self-worth or self-esteem. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.